The Cubs come back to Wrigley Field today, starting a homestand at the friendly confines against the Phillies and the Angels. We're going to talk about that, including taking on a Phillies team who is without some of their best players. Can the Cubs finally take advantage and go on a little bit of a run, or are they ticketed to be sellers at the trade deadline? That and more on this edition of the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in that comment section. Let us know how you're feeling about this team and their chances as we move through into July. Here is your invitation to our show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale. Thank you guys, as always, for coming and joining us to talk some Cubs baseball. I'm on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3, and the Cubs Baseball Channel is now on Twitter at Cubs_channel. Make sure to follow us on there. We'll give you shout-outs. We're going to post a lot of our thoughts on there, especially during games, so interact with us on there. And as always, get in that comment section, and we will get to those as much as we can. But as we get into this show, you heard from Mick yesterday. He talked a lot about the potential Cubs who could be traded at this deadline if the Cubs don't figure things out and figure them out quickly. Cody, Bellinger, Nico, Hoerner, and Ian Happ are all guys who are potentially guys that the Cubs could be parting with at this year's trade deadline. And for Bellinger, his market probably includes the Yankees and the Mets, maybe the Giants as well. And for guys like Happ and Hoerner, the Phillies, the Rangers, and the Mariners, they're looking to add some offense as they try to win their division respectively. So those are definitely places to keep an eye on. I think I agree with Mick that untouchables on this roster right now are Crow-Armstrong and Michael Busch, just because they're so young and controlled for a long period of time. Those aren't the type of guys you send away. Those are the type of guys you build around. And with that, the captain likely of this team, Justin Steele, is a guy that I would not keep or would not trade. I would keep him around as long as possible. Shota Imanaga probably as well. You got him for a pretty good contract. You don't want to abandon that year one into the deal. But the fact of the matter is, the Cubs are in last place in this division right now, despite having the highest payroll in the division. Cubs have a lot of money tied up in guys that if you look into the future and try to determine who's going to be on your team when you're going to be contending for the playoffs, I don't know if you know that some of these guys are. Is Seiya Suzuki going to be a part of a winning Cubs team? Will Ian Happ, Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, Christopher Morel? Those are the questions that Jed Hoyer and company needs to ask and answer over the course of the next month. But what we can do is hope that the Cubs play on the baseball field can help determine it. Similar to last season, the Cubs caught fire in July, ultimately ran out of steam in September, but had the makings of a playoff baseball team for a large portion of the second half of the season. As we begin the first games of July today, can the Cubs do that? That's the big question that we're going to ask and follow this whole month. It's going to be a lot of ups and downs and high leverage. Every loss is going to feel like the end of the world, and every win is going to feel like the beginning of the run. And we're just going to see on which side of the teeter-totter we end up as we get toward the middle and the end of this month. But I think if you want to avoid selling, which as much as I think it's the logical move, the Cubs fan in me is rooting for them to win every day and wants to see them go on a run and contend for this division and get into the playoffs. And if you want to do that, you're going to have to beat these Phillies, who are a very good baseball team, but you're probably catching them at the best possible time. They've got a lot of injuries right now. Two starters, Spencer Turnbull and Taijuan Walker, are both on the injured list. And then as you look across that lineup that is so potent for most of the season, JT Realmuto is on the 10-day injured list. Their MVP candidate, Bryce Harper, had a hamstring injury last week. He's on the injured list. And former Cubs legend and 2016 World Series hero, Kyle Schwarber, also on the injured list. So that lineup is definitely missing some thump, especially from the left side of the plate. Cubs fans, you are going to get to see Nick Castellanos in this series. He's healthy. And the Phillies team is still very good. We should not take them lightly. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you have to take advantage. You're getting the Phillies at the best possible time, and you're going to have to try to beat them. Cubs take on the Phillies tonight at 7:05 p.m. at Wrigley Field. I will be there. Cubs are 3-0 in the last 3 games I've attended, and they're also a perfect 6-0 at home on Tuesdays this year. So hoping to see some more of the same at Wrigley tonight. The Cubs are currently in last place, 11 games behind the Brewers since they lost yesterday to the Rockies. That's our standings check. Let's take a quick look at the wild card as well. Not much has changed. Braves, Padres, Cardinals maintain control. And the Cubs are only better than the Marlins and the Rockies in the entire National League right now. Half games behind the Reds and the Nationals, and a little bit more ground to make up between the Pirates, Giants, Diamondbacks, and the Mets. But that's how it stands right now as we move into Independence Day week at Wrigley Field. A lot of great promotional items and days at the ballpark coming up. On the mound today for Chicago is going to be Hayden Wesneski. He's 2-4 on the year with a 3.60 ERA. We've seen him bounce back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen. Frankly, he's been better out of the rotation this season, and that's kind of where he's back now that Wicks is injured, Assad is injured, and Ben Brown is injured. You're going to get Hayden Wesneski starting against Michael Mercado, making only his second appearance of the season and his first start. So it'll be interesting to see what the Cubs see out of him. But the Phillies lineup does not have great success against Wesneski in their careers. Cubs' current playoff odds, 8.8.5% to make the playoffs and 2.4% to win that division. A sweep of the Phillies could certainly put those numbers on the rise, but we can talk about it all we want. They're going to have to start winning baseball games. The rest of the series after Wesneski, it's going to be Shota Imanaga. He's 7-2 on the year with a 3.07 versus Zach Wheeler, 9-4 with a 2.73 ERA. That matchup on the 3rd of July is going to be a marquee matchup between two of the best pitchers in the National League, probably two contenders to start the National League All-Star game. And we'll see if our guy Shota Imanaga, or Mike Imanaga the second, if you will, gets the better of Zach Wheeler, who is also a candidate in the Cy Young race as well. And then the end of the series is going to be on the 4th of July. It's going to be Jameson Taillon, who's 4-4 on the year with a 3.03, having a really strong season up against another pitcher who's having a really strong season, Christopher Sanchez, 6-3 with a 2.41 ERA. The Cubs have had a hard time against good pitching as of late, so it's going to be interesting to see how their lineup responds against these Phillies. And I wonder if hearing some of the rumors about Nico Hoerner and Cody Bellinger and Ian Happ being on the trading block could be what ultimately sparks a fire under this team and gets them to start playing better baseball. You don't have to win every game, but you can't keep running into outs, booting ground balls, failing rundowns, not being in the right position in the outfield, and blowing baseball games that way. That's the stuff you should be able to control. And we'll see if maybe hearing that some of the leaders on this team could be parting ways with because the Cubs are underachieving, maybe that could be what sparks this team to start playing better baseball, and eventually that'll mean start putting some W's in the win column. But like Jameson Taillon said the other day, if things don't change, things are going to change. And Jed Hoyer is going to be watching every game closely. There's going to be scouts there seeing which players on this Cubs team they can take and put on their team as they try to make a run. And unless the Cubs get hot in July, a lot of your favorite players, we might be sending out the door. And the only way to prevent that is by winning games. And the Cubs have a chance to do that today against the Phillies and this entire series against the Phillies before the Angels come in town at the end of the week. But guys, thanks so much for listening to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name's Anthony Pasquale. As always, we appreciate you guys joining us. Jump in that comment section, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram, Cubs Baseball Channel. We hope to see you guys following us there, and we'll interact with you on the other social medias. But for now, can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow after what we hope is a Cubs win over the Phillies. Go Cubs.